The Mirror That Never Lies. What 20 years of trading taught me about myself. Introduction. The War Room. Picture this. It's 2004. I'm sitting in my first trading office, surrounded by guys who looked like they'd been born with Bloomberg terminals for hearts. The energy was electric. Screens flashing, phones ringing, money flowing like water. I thought I was ready. I had my charts, my indicators, even what I called my edge. But the moment the market opened that first day, something happened that no textbook had prepared me for. My plan, gone. My confidence, shattered. My hands, shaking like a leaf. And that's when I learned the most brutal truth of this business. You're not trading the market. You're trading yourself. Here's what they don't tell you in those glossy trading courses. 95% of day traders lose money, not 50%, not 70%, 95%. That's worse odds than Vegas. And at least in Vegas, they comp your drinks while they clean you out. But here's what kept me awake at night for years. Why do some traders make it while others don't? After 2 decades in this game, after watching brilliant minds crumble and average people become legends, I finally understood. The market isn't your opponent, it's your mirror. And today, I'm going to show you exactly what that mirror revealed to me, and what it might be showing you right now. Chapter 1. The reflection stares back. I'll never forget the first time I truly saw myself in the market. It was during my 3rd month of trading, and I was on a decent streak. 5 winners in a row. I felt invincible. Then came trade number 6. The setup looked perfect, every indicator aligned. But instead of my usual position size, I went bigger. Not because the setup was better, but because I wanted to feel powerful. I wanted to prove something to my father, who'd always questioned my career choices. The trade went against me immediately. Instead of cutting my loss, I held on. Then I doubled down. Then I rationalized. Then I prayed. By the end of that day, I'd given back 3 weeks of profits. But the money wasn't the worst part. The worst part was realizing that I hadn't been analyzing price action. Price action had been analyzing me. Every trade I'd made was an emotional reenactment of something deeper. The need for approval. The fear of being wrong. The desperate hunger to prove I wasn't the failure my inner voice whispered I was. That's when I started keeping 2 journals. One for my trades, one for my emotions during each trade. And what I discovered changed everything. Fear always showed up after 3 consecutive losses. Greed kicked in whenever I saw someone else's winning trade on social media. Revenge trading happened every time I felt disrespected by the market. I wasn't trading random price movements. I was trading patterns, my own psychological patterns that had been running my life since childhood. Let me ask you something. How many of your trades are really about the chart, and how many are about something else entirely? Chapter 2. The Wisdom of Cowards. In 2008, I met a guy named Marcus. He was trading with million-dollar positions, but he acted like the market was about to eat him alive at any moment. He'd cut losses so fast it made my head spin. He'd reduce position size after wins, not losses. I thought he was paranoid. Turns out, he was a genius. Because here's the truth that took me years to accept. The best traders I've ever known are cowards, not brave, not bold, not willing to bet the farm. They're absolutely terrified of losing money. And that fear, that's their superpower. I learned this lesson the hard way in 2009. I was feeling confident, maybe too confident. I'd had a good quarter, and I started thinking I had this game figured out. So when my favorite setup appeared, I didn't just take my normal position, I loaded up. This is my moment, I told myself. This is how fortunes are made. The market had other plans. Within 2 hours, I'd lost more than I'd made in the previous 2 months. But the real lesson came from watching how Marcus handled a similar situation. He'd spotted the same setup, but instead of sizing up, he sized down. When I asked him why, he said something that changed how I think about risk forever. The moment I start feeling like I can't lose, I know I'm about to get my ass kicked. So I trade smaller, not bigger. I want to feel like I could lose, because that keeps me sharp. That's not cowardice, that's mastery. Think about it. Amateurs think courage means holding on when a trade goes against them. Professionals know real courage is letting go of bad trades, letting go of pride, letting go of the need to be right. Here's what I learned. The market doesn't reward bravery. It rewards survival. And the only way to survive is to respect the fact that you can be wrong about anything at any time. Chapter 3, the system that fits your soul. For the first 5 years of my career, I was a strategy chameleon. RSI 1 month, moving averages the next. Maybe some Elliott wave after that. Every time a system stopped working, I'd blame the system and find a new one. Then I met Sarah, a trader who'd been consistently profitable for over a decade. Her approach was nothing like mine. She barely looked at indicators. She just watched price action and volume. "Why don't you use more tool?" I asked her. She smiled and said, "Tools don't make the trader. The trader makes the tools work." That conversation led to the most important realization of my career. There is no holy grail. There's only alignment. I spent the next 6 months studying myself as intensely as I'd studied the market. I tracked when I felt most confident, when I panicked, when I made my best decisions. I discovered that I was naturally better at swing trading than scalping. My personality couldn't handle the rapid-fire decisions. I learned that I performed better with simple setups than complex ones. Most importantly, I realized that trying to force someone else's system onto my brain was like trying to run a marathon in shoes 2 sizes too small. Painful, awkward, and destined to fail. The breakthrough came when I stopped asking, "What's the best system?" and started asking, "What system fits who I am?" I built a strategy around my natural rhythms, my risk tolerance, my emotional patterns. And for the first time in my career, trading stopped feeling like a battle and started feeling like a dance. Chapter 4, the education of pain. I need to tell you about the worst day of my trading career. It was March 2015. I'd been having a great run, maybe too great. I was up 40% for the year, and I was starting to believe my own hype. Then the market served me a slice of humble pie that nearly ended my career. I was holding a position overnight, something I rarely did, but I was convinced I was right. The setup was perfect. The news was bullish. Everything aligned. I woke up to a gap down that wiped out 6 months of gains in a single morning. But the financial loss wasn't the worst part. The worst part was looking in the mirror and seeing someone I didn't recognize, someone who'd let success breed arrogance. I almost quit that day. I seriously considered going back to my old corporate job, but something stopped me. Maybe it was stubbornness. Maybe it was destiny. Or maybe it was the realization that this pain was trying to teach me something. So I did something I'd never done before. I embraced the loss. I studied it. I dissected every decision that led to that moment. And what I found was fascinating. The loss wasn't random. It was the inevitable result of months of micro decisions where I'd chosen ego over discipline, pride over process. That's when I learned the most important lesson of my career. Every successful trader I've ever known has been broken by the market at least once. Not just dinged up, completely shattered. But here's the difference between those who make it and those who don't. It's not about avoiding the pain. It's about learning from it. The market doesn't punish you, it educates you, and tuition is expensive. Chapter 5, the art of losing well. Let me tell you about my favorite trading day of 2018. I made exactly 0 profit. In fact, I lost money. But I went home with a smile on my face. Why? Because I'd executed my plan perfectly. Every trade followed my rules, every stop loss was honored, every position size was calculated. The market didn't cooperate, but I did. And that's when I realized something profound. Losing isn't the opposite of winning. Bad losing is. There's a difference between losing money and losing badly. Great traders don't avoid losses, they master them. They lose small, lose fast, and lose without drama. I learned this from watching a trader named David, who had one of the most interesting statistics I'd ever seen. He was right only 35% of the time, but he was profitable every single year. His secret? When he won big. When he lost tiny. His average winner was 4 times his average loser. Most traders try to be right, he told me. I try to be profitable. And being profitable means being wrong well. I remember the first time I celebrated a loss. It was a small position that I cut immediately when it went against me. Old me would have held on, hoping for a reversal. New me took the loss with a smile. Because that quick exit wasn't a failure. It was discipline. It was respect for risk. It was a sign that I was finally trading like a professional. Here's what I learned. The market doesn't care about your feelings, but it will show them to you. And if you're willing to listen, those feelings become your greatest teacher. Chapter 6. When your gut becomes your guide. After about 10 years in the markets, something strange started happening. I'd be looking at a chart and I'd get this feeling, not panic, not excitement, just this quiet knowing that something was off. I couldn't explain it. The setup looked fine, the indicators were aligned, but my gut was screaming danger. The first few times this happened, I ignored it. Big mistake. The market would invariably move against me, and I'd kick myself for not listening to that inner voice. But where does that voice come from? Is it magic? Some kind of trading superpower? After years of reflection, I realized it was neither. It was pattern recognition on a level so deep, it had become unconscious. My brain had absorbed thousands of market movements, emotional reactions, and outcome patterns. It had developed a kind of radar that could sense danger before my conscious mind caught up. I remember one particular trade in 2019. Everything looked perfect on paper, but as I was about to enter the position, I felt this subtle unease. The kind of feeling you get when you walk into a room and sense something's wrong, even though you can't pinpoint what. I almost ignored it, but then I remembered all the times I'd regretted not listening to that inner voice. So I either passed on the trade or took a much smaller position. The setup failed spectacularly. What looked like a perfect entry turned into a perfect trap. But here's the important part. I hadn't developed this intuition overnight. It was earned through years of paying attention, years of feeling my wins and losses, not just calculating them. Your gut isn't magic, it's memory. It's the accumulated wisdom of every chart you've studied, every mistake you've made, every lesson you've learned. But you can only access it if you're paying attention. And you can only trust it if you've earned it. Chapter 7. The Confidence Killer. I want to tell you about the most dangerous moment in any trader's career. It's not when you're losing, it's when you're winning. It was late 2020. I just had 3 incredible months in a row. Everything I touched turned to gold. I was starting to feel invincible. And that's when I made the mistake that nearly cost me everything. I was looking at a setup that I'd traded successfully dozens of times. But instead of my normal position size, I thought, why not go bigger? I'm on fire. I deserve this. That single thought, I deserve this, was the beginning of the end. I quadrupled my usual position size. And for the first few hours, it looked brilliant. The trade was moving in my favor, and I was calculating the massive profits I was about to make. Then, the market reversed, hard. Within 30 minutes, I'd lost more than I'd made in the previous 6 weeks. But the money wasn't the worst part. The worst part was feeling my entire identity crumble in real time. Here's what I learned. Size doesn't just amplify profits. It amplifies emotion. And emotion is the enemy of good decision-making. When you're trading larger than you can psychologically handle, you're not trading the market anymore. You're trading your fear. Every tick becomes a knife in your chest. Every small movement feels like life or death. The great traders I know treat position sizing like bomb disposal. Careful, calculated, never taken lightly. They understand that the goal isn't to get rich quick. It's to stay in the game long enough to get rich slowly. Here's my rule now. The moment I start feeling like I can't lose, I size down, not up, down. Because confidence can be just as deadly as fear. Chapter 8: The Spiritual Dojo. After 15 years of trading, I had an epiphany that changed everything. I was sitting in my home office, staring at a particularly challenging day when it hit me. This isn't just about money. This is about becoming. Every trade was a test, not just of my strategy, but of my character, my patience, my discipline, my ability to stay calm under pressure. The market had become my spiritual teacher, not with incense and meditation cushions, but with red candles and margin calls. I realized that trading was forcing me to confront parts of myself I'd been avoiding my entire life. My need for control, my fear of being wrong, my desperate hunger for validation. Every losing trade was a mirror, showing me my impatience. Every winning trade was a test of my humility. Every choppy day was a lesson in acceptance. One trader I knew put it perfectly. I stopped trying to beat the market. I started trying to beat myself, the worst parts of me. That's when I understood that the real transformation wasn't financial. It was personal. I wasn't just becoming a better trader. I was becoming a better human being. The market doesn't just test your strategy. It tests your soul. And if you're willing to learn from it, it becomes the most expensive therapy you'll ever receive. Chapter 9: Process is everything. Let me tell you about the most boring, successful trader I ever met. His name was Robert, and watching him trade was like watching paint dry. No excitement, no drama, just methodical execution, day after day. But Robert made more money than anyone else in our office. And when I asked him his secret, he said something that changed how I think about trading forever. I don't try to be right, I try to be consistent. I remember a day in 2021 when I followed my system perfectly. Every entry, every exit, every stop loss, exactly as planned, and I lost money. But I went home smiling. Why? Because I'd executed flawlessly. The market didn't reward me that day, but my process did. My confidence stayed intact. My identity remained stable. Most traders, they win and feel like gods. They lose and feel like failures. It's emotional whiplash. But when you fall in love with execution instead of outcomes, your psychology becomes bulletproof. You stop needing validation from the market. You start generating it internally. Here's what I learned. The market thrives on chaos. Your job is to be the one consistent thing inside that randomness. Rate yourself not on profits, but on discipline. Did you follow your rules? Did you execute cleanly? Did you avoid emotional trades? Because that's the real scoreboard, not your gains, your growth. Chapter 10: The Dance of Conviction and Surrender. One of the hardest lessons I've learned is this: you need to believe in your trades completely and be ready to abandon them instantly. It sounds contradictory, but it's not. It's the paradox at the heart of all great trading. I once held a position for exactly 17 minutes. I'd done my analysis, I was convinced I was right, and I entered with full conviction. But the market immediately started telling me a different story. Old me would have held on, argued with the tape, doubled down on my perfect analysis. New me cut the loss and walked away. That wasn't weakness, that was strength. The ability to believe deeply, but not blindly. To trust your system, but not your ego. The best traders I know hold their ideas lightly. They act with boldness and reverse instantly if proven wrong. No pride, no stubbornness, just pivot. It's like martial arts. The moment you stiffen, you lose flow. But if you're all softness, you get thrown. True mastery is both, firm and fluid, structured and supple. Chapter 11: Becoming your own authority. Here's something that might surprise you. After 20 years in this business, I've never had a guru. I've never followed someone else's signals. I've never bought a proven system. Not because I'm stubborn, but because I learned early that what works for someone else might destroy me. The internet is full of trading gurus promising magic formulas. But here's the truth. The real wizards don't want followers. They want you to become your own master. Because they understand that what worked for them, their psychology, their risk tolerance, their emotional rhythms might be completely wrong for you. I learned this lesson when I tried to copy a successful day trader's approach. His system was profitable, his track record was solid, but it was psychological torture for me. I couldn't handle the rapid-fire decisions. I couldn't sleep with overnight positions. The strategy wasn't wrong. It was wrong for me. That's when I realized freedom doesn't come from following better leaders. It comes from leading yourself. Chapter 12. The journey continues. As I sit here today, 20 years after that first terrifying day in the trading office, I can honestly say, I'm not the same person who started this journey. Trading didn't just change my bank account. It changed my character. It taught me patience in a world that rewards instant gratification. It taught me humility in a culture that celebrates ego. It taught me that real strength isn't about never falling down. It's about getting back up. The market isn't your enemy. It's your mirror. And if you're willing to look honestly at what it shows you, it becomes your greatest teacher. You don't need more indicators. You don't need another system. You need to become someone who can handle whatever the market throws at you. So here's my challenge to you. Stop looking for the perfect strategy. Start looking for the perfect alignment between who you are and how you trade. Because the real edge isn't technical, it's psychological. And the ultimate goal isn't just to make money. It's to become someone who can make money consistently without losing their soul in the process. The market will always be there. The question is, who will you become while you're in it? Your next trade isn't just a position. It's a decision about who you want to become. Choose wisely. Call to action. What resonated most with you from this journey? Was it the moment you realized the market is your mirror? The importance of losing well? Or perhaps the paradox of conviction and surrender? Share your biggest takeaway in the comments below. Not just for the algorithm, but for yourself. Because when you put it into words, you turn a thought into a commitment. And if you're ready to dive deeper into trading psychology, subscribe and join our community of traders who are more interested in becoming better humans than just better traders. Remember, you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems and your identity. The market always knows who you really are. Make sure you like who that is. And I'll see you in the next chapter of your trading journey.